Wade and Shoe Developmental Disabilities, and I'd like to thank each of you for your participation in today's webinar. We will, at the end of the webinar, we will review the collective results of the pre-test and post-test, as well as the survey results of the webinar series. We do have a lot of information to cover today, so we will get started right now. And at this point in time, I will go ahead and turn it over to Janet. Thank you.
And so, thanks so much for being here today. And I got to tell you, it was so nice to meet you all in Missouri a couple of weeks ago. I feel like I'm talking to a crowd I know now, so that's great. And I'm really excited when I was in Missouri to hear about the things that you've started. I know we talked some about the assignment, about the home visits that lots of you got to do, but several of you came up and told me that you've been implementing other pieces of it as well. So that's really exciting. And we'll come back to that because that's our topic today, is implementing customized employment. So let's start. I just wanted to start with some objectives that I hope today that we'll be able to discuss some strategies for getting customized employment started in your agencies, and discuss some strategies for staying on track, and also to learn from an employment specialist who recently received some training and mentoring around customized employment. So Sarah Stafford is with us today, who is from Alberta, Canada, and so was involved in a 3-year project around customized employment. She's the, I'll answer her a little more later, but she's an employment coordinator for Blue Heron Support Services Administration. So she's going to tell you a little bit from her perspective how that went. We're at the end of the call going to hear from your state representatives who are on the Employment First state leadership in Missouri. So with that, I wanted to focus on strategies for getting started. Really optimize employment and implementing customized employment, and to ensure that you have support at all levels. So let's start with that first one. So starting small and learning the process, you know, some people say let's start small and fail quickly. That could be true. But I think what you really want to focus on first is getting to know the process well. It is a little complicated. I mean, there's kind of lots of steps and, you know, lots of pieces that might be different than what you were doing before. What I typically do is encourage people to start with just maybe job seeker or maybe 1 or 2 job seekers. Really use the discovery staging record as your guide to get through discovery, and just relearn each step one and spend some time getting to know it well, because it's like anything. The first time you do it, it's a little awkward, it seems a little uncomfortable, but then after you do it several times, I mean, if I asked you right now to pick up your pen and name with your non-dominant hand, it would be really awkward, right? If you're with your left hand, if you're right-handed, or vice versa. So if you did it every day, or if you started doing it all the time, it becomes easier and easier and more comfortable. So what this idea is about, starting really small so that you can really focus and learn the process, and have time to learn the process. So this might take some support from your agencies to say, hey, this is a new process. We really want to learn it well, and we want to be able to devote that time. I would say you need to devote at least a half a day a week per job seeker to get discovery and to really focus on the job development. So make time in your schedule for it. The goal there is like to make a plan but be flexible. So at the end of the on-site training, one of the things we talked about was that team cycle, and it was that chart that kind of showed, if you go through discovery, this is what you might be doing week 1 versus week 2 versus week 3, because there is a lot of planning involved. So if, you know, say in the very early weeks you're doing the home visit and the neighborhood observation, but you really have to start thinking about those discovery activities and initial interviews and getting them on the schedule ahead of time. Plan is really, really important, but also need to be flexible because obviously you're not the only person, who has to schedule these things. You need to schedule around job seekers' availability, sometimes family members' availability, employee availability, and they might not all be available on the plan that you set. So be flexible as you go. The other two bullets is, use the resources that you have available to you, and technical assistance is recommended. I know we do a lot of work with people across the country on customized employment, and the people who seem to do really well with it are people who invest time not only in training, and training is really important, but invest time in really getting some mentoring or getting to learn it well. Some have even started requiring mentoring as part of the criteria for being able to provide customized employment services. And Pennsylvania did a whole mentoring manual on that. So, and with the resource list that I gave you last time, there's tons of resources out there, and I think we'll talk a little bit later about some resources in Missouri. So the last piece in terms of getting started is to collaborate with others, because with anything, it's so easier to learn and fun to learn if we've got some other people that are learning with us, and that we can share in the learning, share in the setbacks, share in the successes, all that kind of stuff. So some agencies have formed community action teams, which might be just a group of people that are interested in learning about customized employment who might meet regularly. It's similar to a community of practice. Communities of practice are people that get together that share craft and profession, that either come together naturally or deliberately to learn about what they do and to be able to do it better. If we all want to do a good job at what we do. Some states have implemented virtual community of practices. I know Iowa has had one going for some. It's more on community employment in general, not specifically customized employment, but a lot of customized employment stuff comes up. California is just starting a community of practice around customized employment, as well as to take, as there are learning opportunities out there that give people a chance to collaborate with others. For instance, the ACRE, which is the Association for Community Rehabilitation Educators, provides training that's a 4-hour training leading to a certificate. Some of those courses are around community employment. Some have an emphasis in customized employment. I think there'll be more being developed and available soon around customized employment, both at the basic and professional level. So we didn't really get a chance to go over it at the on-site training, but several agencies or organizations that have resources or have training available around customized employment. And I'm listing the lead center here because often the lead center can advertise some of the things that those other agencies are doing. It's a really great resource, a number of topics, not just customized employment. If you go to their website, there's a specific link on customized employment that it captures a lot of information that's out there in the field that could help you with creating. You can get on our website too, so they send you updates. But last bullet, in terms of ensuring support at all levels, as people implement custom employment, that really need to have everybody on board. The CEO or executive director, board members, mid-level management, employment specialists. They all need to understand and support customized employment, because if you're the employment specialist that's out there wanting to get people jobs, and you've got management saying, why are you taking so much time to do discovery, or why are you going out and doing these activities? It looks like you're just hanging out with people. But they need to realize that you're hanging out with intent, that there's that you're learning from that. So getting everybody on board is real important. So there that you can share information, maybe help invite people to training events or making them aware of training events, to share success stories, and to ensure that people know what you're doing and why. Obviously, there needs to be changes in policy and funding and staffing patterns and things like that. And I think, right now, everything's changing at once. People are starting to implement customized employment. At the same time, your state agencies are looking at policies and funding and how that happens. But I think you just need to start. Things will line up as you go. State agencies need to hear from you what you need to support that change. Also, we need to think about the process we use for helping job seekers and family members understand customized employment. It's very nice to hear, like, so-and-so's family doesn't really want us to come into their home. And maybe, that's perfectly legitimate if people don't want you to come into their home. Sometimes I think it's more about how we present the information. If somebody asked me to come into my home, I'd be a little nervous about that too, or I'd be thinking, oh gee, I have to clean the house or like that. But if you start by really explaining the process well and what you're doing and why, I think it helps family members understand as well. Track. Some things I think that we can do to help stay on track as we go, to first implement customized employment with fidelity. If we're going to, let's do it right, because sometimes it's easy to get off track, or it's easy to use pieces but not the whole process. And not that that's a bad thing necessarily. When you say we're doing customized employment, let's kind of stick with the fidelity, and we've gone through this probably ad nauseum at this point, but we want to make sure that we're really doing the key components of it. And again, we've had lots of resources that essential elements for customized employment is going to be a really good tool. The discovery staging record is a good guide because it really helps you not only record the information, but it helps guide you to the next steps. I mentioned earlier this discovery fidelity scale. It's under development right now, but that's another tool that you have to kind of stay on track. And as an agency too, to set some goals. Like, for example, I've worked with some agencies that really have clear expectations about the length of time to complete discovery. Because we want discovery going on forever and ever. We want to get to job development. So we've said 6 to 8 weeks is a good length of time for discovery. But I'm guessing the first time you go through it, it's going to take longer. Or maybe the first few times it's going to take longer. Again, so that's we're going to come back to that. Start small and learn the process well. Once you kind of learn the process, that things will speed up naturally. Some funding agencies set goals for us, like maybe funders might say, we really expect to see, job placement within 60 days of finishing discovery, or standards like that. But I think even if funders don't have those kind of requirements, that you should set some goals for yourself so that you really, using this as a very focused but action-oriented process. And as an agency, I'd also recommend doing a periodic review. Maybe it's quarterly, maybe monthly, to really look at how you're doing. How people are we really using this approach with? How's it going? Are we getting people through discovery in a timely fashion? Are we getting to job placement? Is that happening? So really set some goals for yourself and some opportunities to review those goals. I'm going to turn it over to Sarah, and I have to tell you a little bit about Sarah first. She's with Parent Support Services Association in Alberta, Canada, and I had the pleasure of getting the technical assistance person to work with Sarah over a period of 3 years. So it was a really, really incredible project. And Sarah is not only the employment coordinator for Blue Heron Support Services, but she was also on the steering committee for the project. And she's somebody that is just really, really passionate about employment. Even though the project's over, she's continuing to do excellent work in her community, as well as really taking customized employment statewide. She's been a real person to spearhead how we can continue to grow customized employment throughout Alberta. So I'm going to drag this and I'm going to hand my microphone over to Sarah. I hope it works. Okay. Okay.
Can you hear me? Well, I think you have to mute your mic. Okay, no feedback anymore. Anyway, it's a beautiful sunny day up here in Barhead. So, my name is Sarah Stafford. I'm the employment coordinator here at Blue Heron Support Services Association. I graduated Bow Valley College. I have a diploma in disability studies. I worked in the field for 14 years. I count times over and over again how the right employment how it can impact someone's life. So keep going here. So taking this training, one thing that I loved was that it was finding the right fit for the individual. It was finding a job and then trying to fit the individual into that job. We really went through the discovery process. All the activities that were in the faith classroom were really interactive, really relevant to what I would be doing later on, working with the individual through this process. So I've gotten to the point I am, though, with customized employment. If I didn't have that technical assistance, the tech assistance training for me is definitely what made it stick. I go to a class, that book that I get from the class, or the handouts or whatever that I get would just go onto the shelf because I really didn't know how to start. So with having Janet and the other person that was up with us was Russell, having them come out and really work with us over the last couple of years has been just amazing. I've been able to have this process working so well was because of those two coming out and helping me. And we have people asking for the customized employment process because the individuals have been finding amazing jobs. And, you know, jobs are in the dirt, dust, and dishes kind of area. For the most part, a lot of them are outside the dirt, dust, and dishes, which is really cool. The one that I work with through this process was, her name was Elizabeth, and she really liked working, reading and writing, and she's just so passionate about it. And then she's always wanted to adopt a kid, and so we really were going through the process, and we found a job at the school as a TA, and she's been doing fantastic. She just currently got the word that she's going to have a permanent job there in the fall and continue to learn and grow in there, which is very exciting. This quote is one thing that I have up on my wall. And consistently remind myself of a guardian of an individual that I worked with stated to me, and it proved to be time and time again, especially around employment. The opportunity to shine, the individual will blow you away. And sometimes it's hard. I feel like I make sure that they don't get hurt or fail, but following the process completely, you're set up for success. So before employment, we were really guessing, hoping to find the right job. Great. It's not the thing that is finding the jobs. It's the connections, those personal connections that on that allows employers to compare people, like more paper, and on the right, is the employers. It helps us build connections, those personal connections. So on the left, we're saying, but on the right, we're the detectives. And I like to use facts. I think the employers that I worked with over the last couple of years, really knowing those facts and go into them, go with an individual and talk to them and maybe do an employment proposal, have those facts at that place. An employer is always looking if need can be met. So there are blocks that I've come up against, myself being one of them. I think I'm a very open-minded person, but when I started this process, I realized I was putting limits on what's possible. I didn't think that I was this person because of how important it is to life. My coworkers, again, they were putting the same limits on what was possible. Sometimes we need to protect someone, but this is the case. Let them show us what we can do. This is why CE is so important. And what the employers as well, it was a bit of a roadblock at the beginning, maybe because of lingo. When I say, oh, I'd like to come and do an informational interview with you. Oh, hiring. And it's like, no, I'm an information seek. The individual that I'm working with is really interested in this area, and we just want to come and ask you some questions. I've learned is an employer or the business owner, that's the word I want, is always willing to tell you about their business. They want to show off their business, and you can really use that to your advantage. Also came up with a few things about overcoming roadblocks. So we trust and follow the process. This is I hit a wall. It's starting to veer off the process. But when I go back to my discovery staging record and we look at where I'm at, that really helps me move forward. Keep in mind, this is huge. Costs are endless. You just have to find the right one. Don't let fear hold you back. This is something that I struggle with because I don't want to see the individual that I'm working with, or some think, oh, well, they won't accept them. Not the case. I don't know, Janet, show you rejection therapy video, but I highly recommend it. It's a TED Talk. You can watch it on YouTube. It's amazing. Find allies one person at a time. This holds true too. The more that you're out there doing customized employment, more allies you're going to make, and allies are going to do some work for you because employers do talk. The opportunities have come because of the allies that I have around town now, and it's also advertised for you. Someone says they can't do that, really ask why or why not. There's a fellow that I worked with that really wanted to have his own business, lawn care business, so removal business, and he wanted to have a truck. So we started Guardian if he could get his license, and but that didn't mean that we squashed his dream about having a truck. We just had to find an alternate route. So he insured his truck. He is growing his business. He just has someone that drives it for him. And this year, he's getting so much business that he has hired another person to help him, and that person actually can drive. So it's been a really good matchup. Any kind of roadblock, look at them at a different angle. How do you get around that roadblock? So Linda told me she shared Wayne's story a little bit with you guys. The very first person that I went through the customized employment process with. And so the one that I like to share about because I think his story is kind of cool. Way overlooked. No one gave him a lot of attention. I started working with him, and then I started reading through the customized employment process with him. Was it a for a while? Because I thought that I didn't need to go through the process properly, but I found it very important to go through the whole process because of the information that I found. There are things that I found out about Wayne that I would have never found out unless I went through the process. So I just share. It's actually kind of nonverbal. He has a hard time speaking. And often when I asked him what he would want to do for a job, this was before customized employment, he would tell me that he's clean. And so often I find the individuals that I work with will give me that answer. So again, I can't stress enough how important following the process is. So things that Wayne has at home is a huge movie collection, like hundreds of movies. So how can I use this to help me figure out what he likes and what his dislikes are? I asked him to pick 10 movies. A couple things that I learned from that is that he has an amazing memory. Every single movie that he took down, he put back in the exact same spot afterwards. But the movies that he picked, I learned about him. He likes animals. He likes people. He likes an adrenaline rush. Likes to be scared. And remember where things go after that. This was really good. He definitely liked help or also cooking. A really good cook, but food was kind of a barrier for him because he kind of got focused on it. So we decided to stay away from that, and I think we were quite successful. The things that started to emerge from all the discovery that we did were nature, helping people, and adrenaline. The more that I got to know Wayne and the more activities that we were doing through discovery, he really did like an adrenaline rush. He's the biggest prankster that you would ever find. He likes to pull pranks on people. He loves to scare them. But then he likes to help people too. He's one of the first people to come out and carrying something into the house or that. He'll come out and carry it in. Really take lots of pictures. But Wayne, it was his way of being able to share his story with others. But also he used full portfolios, employer proposals. I've actually done quite a few employer proposals, and I put a little picture of the person on them, so remember that we're talking about a person and the benefits the person can have on their business. And I've been story quite a bit at business and funders. The story. And I was working at the school. I have as many pictures of her, but I'm going to go in and get some just so that she too can share her story and other people can learn of the success that we've been having here. Thing that I found out about Wayne, that he didn't really have a lot of family connection, and that's why the fire department was. So we actually did a couple informational interviews. So we went to the ES station, and then nothing really there, and went to the fire hall, and John, he just talked. He could have talked all afternoon. He was so passionate about his job, and at the end, he really said, "You know, Wayne, if you think this is something for you, we have you here." And for a week or two, thought about it, and he came up to me and he's like, "Sarah, I want to be a firefighter." And so, hey, let's go back and talk to John. So Wayne became a firefighter, and when he did, he kind of got his family. There's a brotherhood up there. They really took him under his wing, and I got the opportunity to interview John for a project that I was doing, and I was able to ask him some questions. And one of the things that really stood out about that interview was he said, as much as we give into Wayne, we have given back to us. I was on the fire department, didn't know how to communicate with someone that had a disability. They were always kind of worried about what they were going to say. They should act. But having on the team really changed that dynamic. And they've gotten a lot more comfortable with people with disabilities when they called out on calls. I thought that was pretty amazing here, and it just goes to show the impact that someone can have in the workplace. So, yeah. A couple things just in action. You know, he's been on the fire department. But he's allowed Wayne to go out and start fires for practice night. He's gotten to go on fire calls. Now he never goes into the building, but he's out there helping with anything else. It could be getting the water for some guys, helping maybe some of the kids that are scared. Just being that person there. If you need something, he'll help you. Wayne often complained that he had a really bad hip. And so he was a pretty big guy. He was 80 pounds. He started at the fire hall. He no longer has hip trouble. Confidence is growing. I supported him at the work site for a while, and we were in a meeting, and everybody had to introduce themselves, and I was really worried that I'm going to introduce himself. Sorry, take a drink. So I was sneaking up there to prompt him, and I was, no, Wayne can do this. And sure enough, when it came to Wayne, he's up and with a loud voice, he goes, "I'm Wayne Ray, and I'm a firefighter," and sat down. It was just so great to see. So only naturally supported on the work. Like 80% of the time, we go up there and we helped him learn his new task. He's taken people's first aid. He's helped a friend that was choking in a restaurant. The friend started choking in the bathroom, and we followed. the door lock behind, and it was one of those stalls, and Wayne was able to crawl underneath and open the door so we could get more help to that individual. So I'd love to be able to go and spread the word about customized employment through conference presentations. I've been able to go to the rendezvous. It's been great to meet other people doing customized employment and hearing their success stories. One of the things for me is hearing those success stories and those opportunities that people have found. It just spurs me on to think outside the box and make connections when at rendezvous that I can call upon later to chat with. I've been out talking with government people, government officials. I started working with specific groups like the Fetal Alcohol Syndrome Disorder Group, school districts, inclusion, and other Council for Disability Services. It's a project, a ton of success, and it's the one thing that I can say to you guys is to really follow the process and to tap to technical assistance if you can. I don't know if that's part of your plan, but that's the biggest thing that I really found useful was being able to have that person come up and mentor me through the process. I would have never gotten to the place that I am at currently without that help. Because it might have stayed on my shelf for a while, and then I would have just forgotten about it and just went back to the old ways of doing things. Yeah, I'm going to try and send this back to Janet now.
Well, Sarah, thanks for all your advice and your words. And I got to say, Sarah's just been incredible supporter of customized employment, and has, Wayne is a great example, but she's got dozens of great examples. They're just, she's just gone, she's crazy with it. It's great. So with that, we'd like to flip now to talk about some state agency perspectives on implementing customized employment, because this is, we need to focus on all different levels and make sure that you all have the support you need to implement customized employment. So I think we're going to start with Dwayne, and I don't see Dwayne's name on here, so I'm thinking he's with you. Huh?
Yes.
Okay, I'll pay you.
Okay, so the state leads that are on, what we'll do is we will present the order in which Janet has it on the slide, and we will unmute each of you as we're ready to turn it over to you. Other thing, just quickly, I would add also for participants, if you do have questions for Sarah or any one of us at the state agencies or Janet, please use the Q&A box, because we do have plenty of discussion towards the end of today's webinar, and we'll be answering the questions through the Q&A box. With the Division of Developmental Disabilities, we do see customized employment as the national best practice and the preferred implementation of each of our waiver service definitions. Through the DD, we do have career planning where discovery can be completed at. We also have pre-vocational services where discovery could be occurring at. Then we have job development services where individuals could be doing negotiated hires as well. And then definitively on the job, through our support employment services, would be where the placement supports occur at, and then fostering the development of natural supports. And so we have made an investment as the division, the University of Massachusetts, Boston, the Institute of Community Inclusion, where we have hired 2 training associates to work in Missouri the next 3 to 5 years with providers who are contractors of the Division of Developmental Disabilities to assist with implementation of program design and best practice. We are also intending to continue to coordinate with Griffin Hamilton Associates on training as well as ongoing tool design and resource and technical assistance. Myself, I will be attending the Griffin Hamilton Rendezvous in August that Sarah discussed, and hopeful of getting information from others around the nation and actually beyond the nation, and bringing those tools and resources and ideas and strategies back to Missouri. Lastly, the Division of Developmental Disabilities is working in tandem with Missouri Vocational Rehabilitation to look at developing some pilot projects around customized employment where we will be utilizing some existing structures, but really helping individuals identify how we can layer efforts between the Division of Developmental Disabilities, vocational rehabilitation. And with that, I will turn it over to Bianca Farr with the Division of Behavioral Health.
Hi, this is Bianca, and for the Division of Behavioral Health, we truly do see the value in customized employment and hope that throughout this series that you've been able to the strategies, specifically the ones that are helping job seekers, looking at their specific interests, their preferences, and talents to drive the employment process. And then also honing in on small business and natural supports to help that individual be successful in employment. At this point, we're still evaluating our next steps for customized employment, and we'll continue to keep you posted. Rebecca Maynard from VR. Oh, I'm sorry. Julian.
I think Rebecca is actually up there next, but if she's not ready, I'll go ahead and start. Why don't I go ahead and, my name is Michael St. Julian, Rehabilitation Services for the Blind here in Missouri, and one of the things I think that's important, about customized employment, certainly with Rehabilitation Services for the Blind being a vocational rehabilitation agency, so many of our services are individualized and it's kind of inherent within our structure in terms of development of plans for employment, or in particular our comprehensive assessment. One of the things I think that we would like to see as an agency moving forward is for continued training on working with our counselors on that comprehensive assessment piece, or the discovery piece for clientele, to ensure that we are meeting them to jobs appropriately. And really, I think that's a big part of it on the front end, to help match those jobs to that person's strengths and their interests and capabilities. I think if we do that, then we're certainly going to be a lot more successful. We have been we continue certainly training and working with other agencies and partnering agencies such as MBR and DD, continue to build strategies for that. And also, things that we are looking at is the use of on training or different incentives for employees to work with our clients, where we provide services such as on-the-job training. I think we don't use that enough. Certainly is something that we could do to help employers get that person and get our clientele in the door. So I think that's one of the things that we want to see used in terms of helping us build our structure and capacity for customized employment.
Okay, thank you, Michael. And we will now turn it over to Kristen Funk with Division of Workforce Development.
Hi, this is Kristen Funk with the Missouri Division of Workforce Development, presenting Missouri Job Centers. And I've been really excited about this training, and that can utilize this. And what I really like is that it addresses people with various barriers. So regardless, we serve a wide variety of people with disabilities, without disabilities, but a lot of people who have barriers, we can use these techniques to help serve them. I think that's really great, and I like just the way that it helps us provide universal access to employment as a resource. And I hope that we do have more momentum with this and we can get the word out to more of our staff. I think it'll be really helpful to everyone. So I'm looking forward to the future.
And Rebecca had intended to participate in today's call with vocational rehabilitation, but she was unexpectedly required to attend a 511 meeting today, and so she did wish to extend her apologies for not being able to participate. But again, vocational rehabilitation, as well as the state agencies who you've heard from today, are committed to continuing to work together as indicated through our effort with this Employment First State Leadership Mentoring Program. Again, this is our 4th year with these types of activities. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it back over to you, Janet. You address Max Lytle's question on when and where could individuals attend a rendezvous?
Pass it back to me. Can you hear? There we go. Okay, I think you can hear me now. Hi. Yes. Well, first, thank you, everybody. I think it's really exciting what's happening in Missouri, and it's a really exciting time. And you've got such a great state team that's so on board with this, and board with not only customized employment, but also understanding that other piece about benefits, which you all have seen the training announcement for. So, Max, I was trying to type in the chat box and it wouldn't let me for some reason, but the rendezvous that people have meant is an event. It's actually called the Best Go West. The short title for it is the rendezvous. It's a function that Griffin Hammis Associates sponsors each year. It's held in Idaho, and it's mostly people who are doing some really cool work around customized employment and at different levels. I mean, it can be state agency people, local program folks, D-Council people, VR, just a whole mix of folks. And it's just a place where we can share and learn about customized employment. It is an invite-only event because there's pretty limited space, but we're really excited that Dwayne's going to be able to come this year and learn and take back to Missouri what he's learned. So good question there. I wanted to, let me see if I can pull it forward, is just to have a little discussion. I know it's hard to do a discussion with so many people on the phone, but I thought if we use the Q&A box, try this, I'd like you to get ready to type, right? And I just want you to think about, how likely are you to implement customized employment within your agency? So go type in your responses in the Q&A box. The other thing I'd like you to do is you'll notice there's a way to raise your hand. So I'd like for people who have, done this and either have started some steps in customized employment or have some examples to share, I'd like you to raise your hand and we can pass the microphone to you and let you talk about what you're doing. Okay, so I'm starting to see some things. I see a very likely, hoping to see more of our providers implementing customized employment. Great.
Individuals would have to type their comments in the Q&A because if they talk from their end, it won't be part of the archived recording.
Oh, okay. So type in. Okay. Oops. Trying to figure out. See all here. Oops.
And you need to ensure that you read what typed in, so it's part of the recording.
Okay. I see somebody that I have several very challenging clients that I would that would benefit from customized employment process, especially in rural areas? Sure. Here, for some, only seeing a little bit of the screen, so I have to scroll funny. We said very likely to implement. So I see a couple very likelies. See more of our providers. I feel like we're already doing components of the process, but in a less structured way. Yeah, for sure. So I maybe.
To the left of the Q&A, there's a little twist tie, and you should be able to make it to where it's full screen so you can see all of the comments. And use the other panels.
Okay, Q&A. Twist tie you're talking about, but for sure, I can see them just low. Okay, developmental connections will be using this process. Super. So we've got some enthusiasm and support here. Let me ask you another question then. What would be helpful in getting started or staying on track? And this kind of leads to the next question too, is what would you like from your Missouri Employment First leadership team? Maybe those two questions. What's helpful in getting started and staying on track, and what would you like from the Missouri Employment First leadership team? Okay. At Independent Center, we follow the IPS model nicely. I think there have been several people, that, I'm sorry, when I move, I don't see it all. Several people that, Dwayne, you read the questions? Yes. I'm having trouble with.
Yes, the Independent Center had indicated that we follow the IPS model, and I feel that customized employment ties in really nicely. I feel like there have been several people that we have worked with that needed this type of thinking to really help them find the right type of job. And then he indicates on-site visit to assess existing structures and provide feedback on how to improve them would be an area for ongoing assistance and support. The Kaiser noted ongoing technical assistance, regular conversations, to hurdles and obstacles, and possible internal coaching. There was also a question earlier about how the pilot sites for customized employment between DD and VR will be identified. That will be a joint effort between FOCREAM and DD, focusing on those providers who are working in both funding streams that were participants of this webinar series. So the two state agencies will be contacting potential providers for those sites.
Okay.
So what we've received is that for to customized employment and the Employment First State Leadership Team would be increased coordination and shared resources, and then all book so providers know if they're following the waiver definitions still or not. And I know that we've talked about it at all as part of the webinar series, but Missouri has been kind of looking at a new fidelity tool which Griffin Hammis has developed around implementation of customized employment. And Jan, I want to talk just a few minutes about the fidelity tool, kind of what Griffin Hammis is doing with the fidelity tool.
Sure. I'm back on here. We talked about this a bit in the training, but to become evidence-based practice, there's a certain process that has to happen. So that's more research-based. So there's been a lot of work around customized employment. There's been a lot of demonstration projects. There's been a ton of great success been documented. It hasn't necessarily had that research component, like there hasn't been control groups and things like that. So one of the things that people are trying to do is to get customized employment as an evidence-based practice. And currently, there's a discovery fidelity scale that's been developed and is going through the rigorous process that needs to happen to become a evidence-based practice. I know that initially they pulled together a lot of experts in the field to get input on what really were the key components of discovery. There's been some, I don't know what they call it, but they kind of send out those components and get feedback again several times just about how things are worded. They're right now doing some field testing in California to get supervisors trained and using the tool as part of that process to get some feedback. So it is available, even though it's not completed yet. It is available if you want to see it. In fact, I think I put it in the materials. I can't remember if I put it under the on-site materials or in the additional materials, but I'll make sure it's in there for sure. So it's something that people can use to kind of guide themselves, making sure that you're doing a good job. And it's similar to the IPS fidelity scale in that the rating system. So each item is rated. The rating system is basically like a 0 would be this is not customized employment. 1 would be this is adequate customized employment. This is really customized employment is a 2, and a 3 might be this is exceptional customized employment. So it could be used as a tool to kind of keep you on track and keep you on course.
And what I do want to do here real quickly is showing survey results and pre-post test results webinar series. And so I believe on the screen, individuals should be able to see some graphs, the combined results, survey results throughout the webinar series and the on-site training. As you can see, individuals, the impression of this training series has been very favorable. Almost 89% have felt that it's been an excellent or a good training series. When speaking of the relevance of this to their jobs, you can see that 43% see this as being very relevant to their jobs, and 28 see it likely as being relevant to their jobs, and 29% as somewhat relevant to their jobs. With let's see, having trouble advancing the slide. I have to do the presentation myself. As the likelihood of adopting, you can see that 49% indicate that they are likely to adopt what they have learned. 18% say they are very likely, not just likely, but very likely to adopt it. 32% say that they are somewhat likely to adopt, and now 2% not feel that they would be adopting the care technical assistance that have been provided. And as far as implementation, not adopting the philosophy and the strategies, but really trying to implement the strategies, you can see 14% feel that they are very likely to implement it. 58% are likely to adopt it. And about 72% all believe that you are likely, very likely, to actually implement these practices. And the training itself, 76% indicated that they felt the length of the training and the content was appropriate. We had about 11% felt like it maybe should have been slightly longer. 11% slightly longer, 10% slightly shorter, and about 3% of individuals felt that it was maybe a little bit longer than necessary. Pre and post test results, what we have up now, what you can see across the board is that individuals, the participants, each of you all, showed a very substantive increase in knowledge and awareness around customized employment. Each of the columns are the test questions that are related to either what is customized employment, what the outcomes are or were of customized employment, looking at what the essential elements, what job creation meant, deliver discovery, looking at use of informational interviews, the types of businesses that one should approach for customized employment, information around informational interviews as part of job development, how to go about targeting or who the target population would ideally benefit from custom employment, and then also understanding awareness on the use of representational portfolios. So across the board, individuals showed an increase in awareness and understanding. And total, as you can see there, we had 100% of individuals, about 9% did the post with full accuracy. And it looks like it has been a very wonderful experience for many of you all. It looks like there's a lot of good ideas to implement and adopt these practices. We definitely feel like we have scaled practice point in Missouri, and now it's just to continue to it and help it move forward. With that, I will turn it back over to Janet.
Okay. Okay. There we go. Okay. And with that, we're at time. Thank you, Dwayne, for sharing that data. I think it's really it's nice for me to see for sure, and I hope for everybody to see. And again, I applaud you all for your efforts in implementing customized employment. And I look forward to hearing about the things that you all do in the future. So we're just beyond time. I'm going to sign off. But thank you again, and thanks to Dwayne and Heike for coordinating the events here, and to the whole Employment First team for coordinating this effort. Thanks so much, and have a great day.